and let us all do we can to build a better future.
All right, we are returning back to Maui, but before I talk further into some situations that need to be covered, I want to give a boost to a good friend of the show, Craig Passadurdula, who put together an outstanding documentary video. I encourage all of you, if you haven't seen it already, please do so. When he went to Lahaina, and just to be clear here, this video that he is playing, I'm going to be first showing the retweet of it because he is saying that he's going to have to push it back a couple of weeks. However, he is going to be returning back soon. But Pasta really led the charge, as he did, especially in Central and South America, with his colleague Fiorella, covering the elections that were happening in Central and South America. But also, he was one of the few people, one of the dauntless few, as I like to call them, of independent media, actually going to Lahaina, speaking to the residents there and what they're going through. Because now that this war in Israel, between Israel and Palestine, and obviously the war in Ukraine, everything, and this fight for the speakership, it's become the front headline story. Maui, as I have feared, is becoming forgotten, just like what happened with Flint, Michigan, and East Palestine, Ohio. So I want to play this video and at least play in its full entirety so that we can hear what Pasta's up to, so that way, we can help him out when everything's all set up and ready. Now, to be clear, I'm pushing back my trip to Maui a couple weeks. Too much going on to leave at this moment, but I'll return soon. Craig, you've been doing a great job hosting the Jimmy Dore Show, brother, representing us fellow Italians. But let's go ahead and play this video so we hear the story.
Hey, hello, everybody. Craig Pasta Jardula here. I just wrapped a Jimmy Dore Show. I want to say thank you so much, guys, for supporting me and allowing me to do this amazing thing. It's like a dream come true. Getting a chance to host the show. I got to pinch myself sometimes and say, wow, I can't believe I'm doing it. And for all those out there who love your Jimmy Dore, don't worry, he'll be back soon. And that's what this announcement is about, because I am taking off on the road again. One of the great things about doing Jimmy Dore's show has been able to have this giant megaphone or microphone, or either one you want to call it. And I was able really to dive into this whole situation in Maui, in Lahaina. And last time I went there, I asked you guys for help, and you guys put me on the ground with a cameraman, and I was able to bring back an actual tangible thing for you guys, a documentary called Lahaina on Fire, Volume 1, The Aftermath. And what I'm doing is, a week from today, I'm hitting the road again for Volume 2. We want to concentrate this time on some of the NGOs and the institutions that have failed the people. We thought it'd be better to go there now. 6 weeks, I think it was almost 5 or 6 weeks ago that I went there in the first place and was able to produce the documentary. So that's why I'm doing this video, to let you guys know that, number one, Jimmy will be back. He'll get in that seat. He'll be there for a nice, lengthy period. And number two, that I'm asking you for your help again. If you can't afford to do it, and if you haven't seen the video, please go to Craig Pasta Jardula, one word, CraigPastaJardula. Check out Lahaina on Fire. It's a very sad situation, but it's some work I'm really, really proud of. We've actually entered it into some film festivals. Helicopters going above, who knows what for. But we are looking to go out there and film Volume 2. Kurt Metzger might be going with us. He's going to find out. We got a lot of things planned. Last time, we knew a few people. This time, we know a lot of people. And we are going to put together another good film to tell you what's going on in Lahaina with the people who have been left behind, left for dead, left to just be homeless. One of the Red Cross programs for housing has ended, and a lot of people can't continue their housing because, get this, they don't have the paperwork. Where was their paperwork? In the house that burnt up.
So real quick, I want to pull up his channel here. Now he's at 4,000 subscribers. I think we need to get that to a little bit up the numbers. And of course, his outstanding documentary. I've watched this documentary a couple of times, and it's more on point than anything I've seen on corporate media. With getting close to 50K views, it should, in my personal humble opinion, it should be at 1 million views, because we cannot forget what happened in Lahaina. We cannot forget what happened in Flint, Michigan. We cannot forget what happened to East Palestine, Ohio. And I said this on the show, and I want to be clear here. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted to be proven incorrect. I But I did say that the people of Lahaina were going to be displaced, that the people of Lahaina were going to be screwed over by their politicians, and that the fire and story is going to be forgotten. And it's our social responsibility for all of us to stand with each other. I know times are tough. The media is dividing the landscape, and everyone's at each other's throat. And sometimes social media doesn't help out. It just causes more problems. But if we don't stand together, we're all going to die alone. And these politicians and these top 1%ers will keep on kicking us while we're down. And Pasta put together a great documentary video. And I do hope that he is successful in going back there again and telling that story so it's not forgotten. Because we cannot allow that injustice to continue to go unheard. And there's a lot of injustice that's happening. But if we keep on raising the ruckus, as we should, and start building movements and organizations not connected to Washington, D.C., we might have a fighting chance. There might be a dog in this fight. And that's why I'm playing this video of Pasta talking about what he's trying to do. So that way, when he gives us the go-ahead, we're there to help him out. Because he's one of the dauntless few actually covering the story. And I call him a good friend, and he is somebody that has been consistent with his work.
So there's a lot of sad stories. The distribution centers seem to be under attack by some of the people in the legislation. So we're going to go out there and we're going to film volume 2. So this is what I'm doing. I'm coming to ask you guys humbly for your help again, but I will produce another good product. So if you can do, all the links are listed below. I've even started a give, send, go for this one, Lahaina on Fire volume 2. I'm going to go out there. The least amount of us will be 2, me and George Dawson, my camera guy, and we got some lavaliers this time to fix some of those audio problems, and maybe Kurt Metzger, he might be out there with us, and we're gonna have him interview some comedians out there, come hang out with us. So if you can help out, and I always tell people, I encourage them, go watch the video first, go check out the movie called Lahaina on Fire, Volume 1. It's an hour and 6 minutes. We were able to really get in there and talk to some people, talk to the actual people, and bring you real good journalism, not from everything you hear or you don't hear on the mainstream media. So the links are down below. I got my PayPal, my Cash App, my Venmo, and Lahaina on Fire. It cost me a few bucks to get out there. The tickets are cheap. They're not that bad, but I got to bring a camera guy. I got to pay him a few bucks, and he's been awesome, guys. This is a bargain what we're getting for George Dawson. The work he's doing on the filming and the editing, it does cost a few bucks, and he's been pushing everything else aside to do these things. So once again, if you can help down below, click one of those links, throw over a few bucks or whatever you got, and we'll see you on the flip side. Lahaina on Fire, Volume 2 coming, guys. Thank you so much. Pasta out.
And he does great work. So look, we got to hear the story because all the people in charge in Lahaina failed to do their job. Case in point, I am hoping that eventually, perhaps, we get to hear from the old mayor himself, because the mayor seeks to defend and explain his actions on the day of Lahaina's wildfire. Never forget when the head of the emergency management said in front of the press, "I'm glad the sirens didn't go off." Just a quick reminder, those sirens in Lahaina are designed to give a warning to the residents in case there is a typhoon, hurricane, earthquake, volcano, a man-made disaster, or, surprise, surprise, I hope you're sitting down for this, wildfires. I didn't pronounce that word properly. I'm sorry. Wildfires. Again, I have failed. Wildfires. Yes? So let's hear from the mayor.
Maui Mayor Richard Bisson shared insights of his account of August 8th and when he realized the severity of the Lahaina fires. Eddie Dow joins us with the new details. Eddie.
Mayor Bisson, in an interview with Spotlight Now, got emotional when recalling what he remembers about the events of August 8th, sharing for the first time the moment he realized Lahaina was in much more danger than originally thought. Maui Mayor Richard Bisson says August 8th started with an early morning text on his phone.
Telling me that a house was on fire in Kula. The reason I was getting a call is they were going to start to evacuate areas of Kula, and they wanted permission to open a shelter. So of course I said, yes, let's go do that.
According to Maui County, the mayor was in and out of the Emergency Operations Center throughout the day.
The focus the whole day was on what was happening in Kula.
The mayor says he was alerted to a separate fire in Lahaina that morning, but was told it had been contained. He says it wasn't until the evening that he realized the situation in Lahaina was much worse.
For me, that moment would have.
Now, look, I understand you have to be diligent, but wasn't any of his staffers, like, on their phones, maybe checking out Twitter and social media? Because, when that fire was happening, there were videos and then a massive wave of videos of how devastating this fire was. And just an important note, in case everyone might have forgotten, this is the most devastating fire, not only in Hawaii's history, but in American history. Pretty deadly fire right there. So many people displaced, lives lost, forever scarred. And hey, turns out the shelters are being shut down. All the goodwill is evaporating away because these politicians have business to do. The vulture capitalists are swooping in. I mean, the venture capitalists are swooping in. Oh, let me pronounce that word again. The vulture capitalists are swooping in, taking away all the land, going to make it impossible for the homeowners to actually restart their lives on their own property.
Have been when one of the fire units did not call back in. As far as what time it was, oh gosh, we'd have to look at the record to see what time it was. But the chief had gotten up, and he left the table he was at, and he had walked to one of the other rooms. There are maybe 4 outside rooms in addition to the meeting room we have. So there's a lunchroom, there's an office room, there's other rooms. So he had gone to another room, and I didn't know if it was to be more quiet or what happened. And then I followed him, and that's when he told me that the truck had not reported back.
The mayor says the county set up a shelter at the Lahaina Civic Center at some point in the night, but even that area became compromised.
People went there, and then the fire threatened that location.
Maybe people would have gotten out and some firefighters wouldn't have been hurt. There would have been more of a better response if the emergency sirens worked. Maybe if people were told to leave. Maybe if people were given that heads up, But according to that former head of emergency management, I guess people would have ran into the fire. Now, I am not an expert, but I'm pretty sure in a dangerous situation, if a reasonable average person looks around their settings, their environment, and they see smoke and a big wall of fire coming their way, I think they're going to run the opposite direction, not towards the fire, but run away from the fire. I know that's a little bit of a controversial statement because that's using common sense. If only those alarms were raised, Mr. Mayor, and to the state representatives and governor of Hawaii, maybe people Lahaina and emergency responders would have been more ready for this if the leaders did their job. And by the way, as I covered on a previous story, this is the same mayor that's talking about doing budget cuts. Budget cuts, especially to the fire department. Say it with me, folks, for the people in back. What could possibly go wrong?
That is our evacuation center. So in the middle of the night, those people were removed from there by bus and cars to go out to Kapalua.
Bisson also says at some point he tried to send staff from Wailuku over to West Maui.
We sent 2 of our folks from the EOC, Josiah Nishita, Zeke Kalua, got into our 2 trucks. They went to Long's, they went to Safeway, they bought every case of water that was there, and they drove it out. So anyway, but they got stopped along the way because the fire jumped the road.
The mayor says he went to sleep around 3:30 a.m., setting an alarm for 2 hours later. He says later that morning he received the grim news.
The chief sent a text to me, the chief of police, verifying that there were deaths.
Now, Mayor Bisson says throughout the night and early morning, the county was working to get aid to fire survivors.
At least according to the documentary video that Pasta did, these community centers, again, if you haven't seen Lahaina on fire, please do so. but it's been the residents that have been looking after each other, the residents who've been abandoned. I like how the media and the establishment and politicians are rewriting history, but it was the civilians that came together. It was civilians that rallied together. It was the people, not the celebrities, not the politicians. It was the people. So that's why I encourage all of you, if you're not done so already, when Pasta gets ready to boot up and suit up to head back to Lahaina, help him out whatever which way you can. And if you haven't shared the video, Lahaina on Fire, The Aftermath, please do so. He's done phenomenal work. He's one of the dauntless few and somebody who I can truly say speaks for the voiceless and does a phenomenal job. Keep speaking truth to power, Greg.